United States of America, and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Almighty and everlasting God who presides over all things in heaven and earth, come and preside over these deliberations so that those who make the decisions may be guided by your wisdom.
Tony, welcome to the City Council work session, December 19th, 2024. I think Mayor's agenda. Mayor, we're ready for you, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, they are.
Good evening.
Evening.
Okay, I'd like to start the first resolution authorizing the issuance of a tax and reserve and revenue anticipation note, series of 2025, in the principal amount of $2 million, providing for the date, interest rate, maturity date, payment, and place of payment in respect the note. Now, I believe you have information regarding this. Is there any other information I can provide for council?
Questions?
Sure. Mr. Mayor, when was the last time we did this? Been 3 years, 4 years?
3 years ago.
3 years, good. And I think the last time was 3 million?
3 million.
2 million, right?
It's always been 3 million, right?
Yeah.
3 million, yeah.
Well, then that's good, okay.
Other questions?
Okay.
Hearing none, go ahead.
All right. Secondly, authorizing the proper city officials to take any and all necessary actions related to entering into 2 signed location leases with Lamar advertising companies. Anyone have any questions regarding that? I know you have more information in the packet.
Are these, I do have a question, are these the LED signs or are these like regular billboard signs?
Great question. We have representation here tonight
Okay.
from Lamar. We were just anticipating a question because we got them all.
Good evening. Your name, sir, please?
Joffrey McGregor. I'm the real estate manager for Lamar Advertising. And the question was,
Are these the LED billboards or is this going to be like the normal standard?
there are 2 existing billboards
Okay.
to be sure. Both of them are what we call static traditional signs. We are hoping to convert one side of one of them to an electronic digital format, and that's part of our proposal to the city.
So they're the current ones are there, it's just one you're going to update to the new?
That's the plan, yes.
Got it. That was it?
Okay.
No questions.
Questions?
No questions.
Thank you, sir.
That was easy, wasn't it?
Okay. I think that's all you have on your mayor, I believe.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Belisco?
Just have a question for Mayor or Charlie. These food trucks, I keep seeing them. They're popping. I know we went through this once before, but they just keep popping up all over. There's 3 on Cary Avenue alone. Is there anything we could do?
Tim, is there a better?
Yeah, I mean, we already regulate, so I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, I mean, to curb them so there's not so many. Like they have to own the land the truck's on or something along those lines.
Well,
You know, like an
now that I know your
ordinance saying
concern, let me
something like
think of it.
that?
I don't want to say anything tonight without having looked into it a little more and thought about it. But we already regulate them. We can certainly amend our regulations. So, something to think about.
Okay, all right, I'd appreciate that. Well, that's all, Mr. Chairman.
You know, I always worry about the brick and mortar businesses that we do have. And they seem to set up shop right near them. And I'm sure it adversely affects those businesses. Maybe not, I don't know, but I would imagine it does.
You would think
And I
so.
just don't think it's fair.
As Tim said, they're regulated by the health department and they do take out a license. But the thing is, there's any other regulations that have to come through as an ordinance, I believe. And,
Yeah, obviously the regulations were set by an ordinance, so if we wanted to change them, that would be done by an ordinance. But they are inspected, they do pay an annual, license fee, so they are regulated by us.
Yeah,
I have a question on that though. So do they pay taxes like a brick and mortar? Because the brick and mortar obviously has, an address that would be like this address.
They should be.
So are they using like a home address that might be Mountaintop? Or are they using like their city where
Yes,
they're located?
I'm not an accountant, so I really don't want to answer that and be incorrect.
And
I'm just thinking they should be, what's fair to the brick and mortar is fair to them, so
Right.
is that something we
Yeah,
can
but it can, what they're,
look into?
pardon me, I'm sorry. Yeah, and they're starting like to make structures out of it. If you look by Turkey Hill, it looks like the boardwalk. You know, there's just one after another there.
But I think if you notice that a lot of them are situated on private property that they may be paying rent to, that people that own that property. I know there's a gentleman that's on South Main Street, but he actually pays for those parking spots that he has, and that's different. Most of them you see are on private property. Cary Avenue, Mike, that's private property
Yeah.
that someone owns, that they probably lease out that amount of space to them. Over here at the Jewel Court building, they're in the back of that. I'm
Yeah.
sure that's being leased out.
And that is a very important distinction, whether they're operating on public property or in public rights of way, as opposed to leasing space from a private property owner who allows them to be there. That's two different animals.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I see they're adding additions to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Like tents or,
Tents, yeah, that's-
because of the weather's
They're actually
changing.
structures, if you think
Yeah,
about it.
now it just looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
Picnic tables.
And how do we, I mean, it's just, they're just, like you said, they're popping up everywhere. It's hard to differentiate.
I'd like to see if you could come up with something there too.
Right.
Well, you could always craft something in ordinance
Yeah.
and have it reviewed by the city attorney.
Yeah.
That's your prerogative. Am I correct, Tim?
Sure.
I mean, as far as amending the ordinance that's currently, in effect, you have that option to do that, sir, if you want to do that.
Get their word.
And you could increase the amount of fees that there's things like that you can do, but I'd work very closely with the city attorney and making sure that what you want to do is in line with what we can do.
Yeah, and obviously, in this day and age, most municipalities in the state will have access to their ordinances online, so you guys may want to look around and see how other cities and townships are dealing with the food truck issue, to see if there's anything in there that you want me to take a look at for you.
Sure, yeah, definitely do
Councilwoman,
that.
I know you do a lot of research, so, I mean, you're probably,
Yeah, Lancaster has a nice one too, I believe.
Project now, see?
Yeah, I'll add that to my list.
Homework.
I mean, I'm okay with, like, if, I'm not opposed to businesses coming into the city, but I just want to make sure that they're paying their fair share, just like every restaurant that's in the city. So if you could just get back to us about the taxes.
but they are licensed and they are inspected
Well, I
by
know
the
they
health
pay like a
department.
yearly fee, but I think that they should have to pay on the revenue just like a business does.
Like a mercantile tax.
Right.
Mercantile, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that I don't know.
Yeah, now that they're more prevalent, I mean,
Yeah, there's many of them, so, but I'll do my research too.
It's a concern I think we all have.
yeah, we've talked about this a few months ago.
Anything else, Mr. Belisco?
That's all.
Mr.
Oh,
Clay?
it's easy. A few things. So the street sign on East Chestnut and Penn Ave, where the Lion Brewery parks their trucks,
Yeah, it's down.
one of the trucks ran over the street sign, so it's down.
That's for the sign lady. Sign lady.
Yeah, any sign issues, Lisa's happy to correct.
The sign's there, so it just is.
West Chestnut sign?
Is it West Chestnut? I think it's East Chestnut. Yeah, East Chestnut and Penn Ave, right on the island part. East Chestnut, that's what I thought. Then, so the Motor World, have we reached out to them? Do we know what the plan is there? Do we know what our loss would be on that? And I think I do have a couple things for Charlie, but I don't want to put the addresses out there, so I'll email him the addresses of them.
Yeah, have reached out to Motor One, what's it called, Mile One, but they're in the process of a decision-making process right now. So I can't speak for them, but sure, it's going to be a loss to the city, mercantile tax loss, first of all. Property taxes are still, they don't own that property, so the realtor company that owns that property will still be paying the, property taxes.
Okay.
Okay? So they don't own that property. They rent that property. So the loss would be the mercantile tax.
Okay.
If they do move. I'm not saying that it's in stone that they're going to move yet, okay? But sure, I've reached out to them and I've sat with them and tried to convince them the values of being in Wilkes-Barre. And what does that mean? And I'll be very honest, I'll be very open with you. The values are that we have the largest police force in the county, with the largest fire department in the county. There are a lot of benefits to being in the city of Wilkes-Barre that we promote. Every time we bring a new business into the city, we talk about why you want to come to the city of Wilkes-Barre. And have I done that? Yes, absolutely, because I'm doing my best to keep them here. But that's still, it's going to be a financial decision for them to make. And I don't think it's being made locally, it's being made by the parent company. But yes, and I'm going to continue to do that until the last car is driven off the lot. Okay, that's my job to do that, and I'm doing it.
And is this coming up at our next
Yeah.
meeting?
Speaker.
Okay, good, because I had brought that up a few months ago, so I just want to make sure that this is going to be addressed at the next, the wall on North Franklin.
Yes.
Okay, I'm good.
Mr. Maron?
I was going to ask the same thing that Jess did about Motor World, the loss that we're going to be taking, so that you answered my questions. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Mr. Brooks?
I want to thank the mayor for taking the lead and going to Scranton the other day for the discussion about the hospitals and how unbelievably important it is that these 3 hospitals are brought back to their fullest potential so that we can have good quality, accessible healthcare in Wilkes-Barre and Scranton. So that was a very
Thank you.
informative.
And thank you for joining me there.
So, nothing else, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Mr. Thomas, anything for us?
Nothing this evening.
Okay. 2 small things that I haven't had a chance to put together, and they just came up. Hurley and East Main, concrete sign is at a 45-degree angle. The street sign right on the corner.
Lisa?
It looked like it was probably hit by something. Hurley and East Main. And this, I got another request on this. Scott Street going into what's called Irish Town in Plains Township. There's a little hill that goes down in there, if you're familiar with it. And as you're going down the hill to the left is the back of the Bog Park. Obviously, it's our property there. This resident asked if there's any way to get that cut back a little bit. Everything is grown right to the blacktop. There's no way for a pedestrian to walk down there without being on the road, and it's kind of a blind, and that just came up again yesterday. So I guess we can cut that back. It appears to be our property, going right down to the Plains Township line, and maybe if the guys can take a look at it, if Dave.
Charlie will take a look at
So
it.
that's Scott Street, 1400 block, going down to the Plains Township line. And that's all that I have.
Mr. Barrett, in case I don't speak again tonight, I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, but more than that, I want to thank you over this last 12 months, the new council members and the more, how should I say this, experienced council members. I didn't say mature. I said more experienced, but I want to thank you. It hasn't been an easy year, and it's going to be a better year next year with a lot of things that we're hoping for. So I want to thank you for your cooperation. I know you did a great job, and I just want to, like I said, thank you for working with the city administration and my office, and let's look forward to a new year next year, a better year next year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Cooperation. Thank you, Mayor.
An announcement if anybody wants to sign.
Yes, we are going to go in a few moments right into our regular session, so if anybody wants to speak that hasn't already filled out or sent in one of these speaker registration forms, please do so now while we take this very short intermission here.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Almighty and everlasting God, who presides over all things in heaven and earth, come and preside over these deliberations so that those who make the decisions may be guided by your wisdom.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Belishko?
Here.
Mrs. McClay?
Here.
Mr. Maron?
Here.
Mr. Brooks?
Here.
Mr. Barrett?
Here.
Also in attendance, Mayor George Brown, Controller Tony Thomas, Administrator Charles McCormick, City Attorney Tim Henry, Assistant City Clerk Tracy Smith, Administrative Assistant Lisa Sanfilippo. Good evening and welcome to tonight's regular session of council. Please turn off all cell phones. Following are examples of some important council rules. They are not intended to be a complete list. Please adhere as closely as possible to the 5-minute speaker presentation time limit. No persons are allowed to address the council from beyond the rail, except the speaker at the dais who has the floor. The chairperson shall preserve order and decorum and prevent attacks on personalities. Chairperson shall determine all points of order. No person except city officers or their representatives shall be permitted within the rail during any meeting without the express permission of council. Council kindly asks that the public please vacate the building within 10 minutes after the meeting adjourns And finally, when members of administration are speaking, please stand up and speak into the microphone.
Thank you. Take a breath.
Anybody
All right.
on public?
We have a couple items on the agenda this evening. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on that pending legislation, just pending legislation alone? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Sam Troy, trying to decipher the legal jargon here on the TAN. I came a little late. I see Mike was asking a couple of questions about it. I didn't hear all the details. But I wondered if anybody, or maybe the mayor, can explain. First of all, I thought, so one thing is contingent on another, right? I understand that the purchase of Commonwealth Hospital is falling through, that it's dead in the water. Is that correct? Anybody else? Pretty much dead. All right, I won't get an answer on that right away, I understand. So if that's the case, though, then that tax revenue that the city was counting on will still be intact, correct? Whatever it was, $750,000 or something? So my question, if that's the case now, maybe I'm wrong on some of this, but I heard from from Mr. Wendelowski of the school district, since his entity is involved in this too, that deal is all but dead in the water. So that the revenue that the city thought was not going to be there is going to be there, the $750,000. So my question is why this TAN is necessary altogether. There's a famous quote from Shakespeare, said by rather an unsavory character, but giving advice to his son, and he says, this above all till thine own self be true, neither a borrower nor a lender be. All right, we understand in this day and age that's not too probable, too feasible. But by the same token, if it's not necessary to borrow money, why do it? And there's some other details here that are rather ambiguous, which I wonder if the mayor or somebody can reveal, or maybe it was revealed and I didn't get it, came in a little late. But what would be the interest rate here? I know interest rates have risen in the last few years. What bank is involved, which I don't know. What is the maturity date of the note? And is there some leeway here? If I talked to another person today who says that this ambiguity here in the way this is worded. Hey, somehow you gave me extra time there. Because I'm a nice guy, that's what it is.
Ask.
It's Christmas. Take advantage of it? Oh, yeah, not much there. Save it for the after session. But the way I understand it is if the maturity date normally for a 10 is 6 months, correct? At the outside, or is it 3 months? Since this is somewhat ambiguous, does the city have the option here to extend this maturity date to the end of the year? What bank is involved? What is the interest? Why is it necessary? In fact, the budget has already been passed. My understanding was that at the point, it was assumed when the budget was passed that a TAN was not necessary. So there are a lot of question marks here. I guess it's tough to get answers from you people, but I don't think it's fair or ethical to keep all this under the radar, and the taxpayers have a right to know. It's their money, after all. What the TAN is basically being used, I guess, to balance the budget. Is there still the question of that $2 million structural deficit in there? And I guess that's one of the reasons it's necessary. But I guess that's all I have. The second phase of this, I don't know if somebody wants to clarify, but I didn't realize the city was in the billboard business, but I guess to a certain extent it is. I have no necessary comments on that. But if somebody can clarify this jargon here on this note, it would be appreciated. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone care to?
Bill?
Mayor.
Morning, good afternoon, Sam, how you doing? Yeah.
Good, how are you, Mayor? You got a nice suit on again.
What's that?
It's a nice suit
Thank you.
again.
By the way, I get that every council meeting. Nice suit. I'll be happy to clarify for you. okay? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you pretty good.
First of all, yeah, the sale of Commonwealth Health, Wilkes-Barre General, if you want, I'll just identify Wilkes-Barre because now it's Scranton. But yet it fell through, which means that they are still going to be paying the $775,000 in property taxes that they were going to pay as the sale never happened, okay? So yeah, it's going to continue. Tax anticipation note, the reason for that is we take out so that we have money to keep the city going until the revenue starts coming in from the taxes. That's why it's called a tax anticipation note. So it helps us to pay bills until first quarter taxes start coming in, okay? Now, I can tell you it's with M&T Bank, okay? And the rate is 4.13%.
4 point what?
4.13%, which is, we did an RFP, so you know that, so other banks could compete for this tax anticipation note. M&T Bank was the lowest responsible bidder, 4.13%. Now, it's taken out for, a year period, but it can be paid off early, okay? So as we get revenues coming in, we have the ability to pay that off instead of keeping it for the full 360 days. So that's something that naturally we want to build into this approval. So council does have that information now, but it is M&T Bank, it's 4.13%. So I think I answered both of your questions.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Can I ask? Oh, I guess I can.
Anyone else on pending legislation? Okay, Kath.
All right, so we're going to take the resolutions. First one is the tax and revenue anticipation note. We need a motion and a second.
Motion?
Second.
By Mr. Mirren, second by Mr. Brooks. Mr. Belushko?
Yes.
Mrs. McClay?
Yes.
Mr. Mirren?
Yes.
Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
And Mr. Barrett?
Yes.
And the second resolution is for the Lamar advertising. We need a motion and a
Motion?
motion by Mr. Belushko,
Second?
second by Mrs. McClay. Mr. Belushko?
Yes.
Mrs. McClay?
Yes.
Mr. Mirren?
Yes.
Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Barrett?
Okay.
That one.
Yes.
Mirren and Brooks. Mirren and Brooks. And then we need a motion and a second on the minutes.
Motion?
Motion by Mr. Barrett,
Second?
second by Mr. Belushko. Mr. Belushko?
Yes.
Mrs. McClay?
Yes.
Mr. Mirren?
Yes.
Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Barrett?
Yes.
That concludes the business.
Okay.
Second.
Council members again, Mr. Belisco?
I just want to wish everyone, in administration, everyone on council and our support staff, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. McClay?
I actually do have one addition, the Sabre Room. So they came for about a week, tore it all apart, took everything out, gutted it, and that's it. They left the sidewalks a mess, the parking lot a mess, and it's just kind of hanging there, just no windows in the place. Can we figure out what's going on there? I mean, I'm glad they got rid of the awning that was falling, but now pretty much everything else is gone on it.
It looks terrible.
It does. It's a shame, actually. It's terrible.
I
And I think that's all I have.
It was looking good, yeah.
His kid owns it, or...
Mr. Mirren?
No, I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And thank everybody for all your help throughout the year, administration and DPW and everybody else.
Thank you, Stan.
Thank you.
Mr. Brooks?
Same thing, Merry Christmas, come out for a drink, we're going to go to Franklin's, and Valley Santa's at Rodano, so come out.
Ellie Sandler.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and Mr. Thomas?
Likewise, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and a Happy New Year to everyone in the city.
Thank you, sir. And I as well, without being redundant, so I wish everybody, and thank you for, Mayor, I know you thanked us for our support and cooperation, but conversely, we thank you for being so cooperative. You and your staff has always been there for us, so we very much appreciate that. Thank you, everyone, and move on to public discussion. Angel Mathis.
Angel Mathis, Wilkes-Barre. The first thing I want to say before I put it down backwards. First, I want to say happy holidays and great new year. And, everything will be good for the new coming year. But now my main thing is fires. It's getting cold. And you know, my issue is always with housing. And I see that there has starting to become an increase in fires in the city, in multi-dwelling units. And I know before, when I did live downtown, you guys, I think, passed a resolution on the billing and coding of the response of the fire department, where if there's insurance during a fire, that the insurance is billed for the fire. So what I wanted to know is, one, are rental properties required to have insurance? The outside landlords required to insure their properties within the city? And two, for the fires, are they being built through their insurance for fire response?
What's it?
That's it.
Kind of a legal question. I don't have the answer as far as renters.
I think the rental is up to the individual to take out rental insurance.
So is whether the renter,
And that's,
Whether
person owns the
the,
rental property has to have insurance for the property itself,
yes.
aside from renter's insurance with that.
Well, the renters are responsible for the renter's insurance, but as the property owner and the fact that they're providing a rental property, are they required to have insurance on their property operating in the city of Wilkes-Barre?
If you own a rental property and you have tenants residing in there, are you required to have property insurance on that?
Fire.
Fire insurance, property insurance.
I mean, I don't know if you're ever required to have it. There's plenty of people who own properties that aren't insured. Would it be a big mistake to not have it? Yes.
If it's a rental property, there's no stipulation in the rental ordinance that requires you to have
Not that
property
I'm
insurance.
aware of, but again, I didn't look at it before I came here tonight.
And I don't know if that's unusual or not, or if it's something that we should look at. It would seem to me that, I mean, I agree with you. I would want that if I were
Obviously, if you have a bank note, it would be, you know.
landlord, I'd want that property.
Yeah, if you have a mortgage, they're gonna
they're
make
going to
sure it's
require it. The
insured.
mortgage will require it.
But, you know, if a landlord in the city stopped paying for the rental insurance, I don't know how the city would be alerted to that fact.
Yeah, that's right.
Other than at the time of inspection, you have to show proof of insurance. That's the only way we,
Yeah,
if in fact
if
we
it's in
did
there.
put that in
Right,
the ordinance.
right, yeah, but obviously I didn't.
You want to
review
look into that a little bit too?
I'll add it to the list.
What about the being built for the fire? How do the city
The
recoup
insurance company?
from
They-
the
they-
fire
And I'm
response?
sure that they do bill, fire
Do have
department does
something.
bill
She's saying if
insurance
they have the
companies
fire
for
and
it.
the fire department responds, do we bill them for the fire department responding?
I know the fire department bills for some things, but I'm not sure what they are, because obviously, you know, fire protection is something you get by virtue of, you know, paying your city taxes and living in the city. But there are definitely things that the fire department bills for. I would just have to talk to Chief Delaney to be positive about what that is and what that isn't.
Okay, thank you.
I know it's accidents and things like that they do bill for that.
Money
Right.
goes in.
Responsible for
I
crash.
think I read too, they bill if like your fire alarm goes off so many times.
Yeah, they
in a
definitely bill
year.
for that.
They bill that. I did read that.
Those two.
Well, yeah, obviously, if someone does have insurance and their property has a fire, if it's substantially damaged, now there's a percentage or whatever, and they are insured, the city automatically gets a cut of the insurance proceeds, and that is meant to protect us from an owner just walking away. His house is severely damaged and they move to New Jersey, and they just don't do anything. Now, we would have money from their insurance company in an escrow account, which we could use to rehab it, demo it, do things like that. Yeah, now that's Pennsylvania state law.
Okay, well, that's good.
And if they don't have insurance and that happens, what, do we put a lien on the home? Or
If
a
we
lien on
end
the
up,
property?
if we end up demoing it ourselves and paying for the demolition, we would certainly put a lien on the property, yeah.
And we've done that numerous times in the past. I know that we've done that lien.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I'm sure it
Okay.
happens.
City also builds for ambulance, right?
Interesting question.
Ambulances.
Yeah, I'm not up to,
They do.
They absolutely do.
Yeah,
I'm very familiar with that. They do.
Yeah.
Never been in an ambulance.
Madeline Chapel?
This is-
Good evening.
Good evening. Madeline Chapel, Wilkes-Barre. City Council, in times of struggle, it is necessary for the community of Wilkes-Barre to come together to help one another. However, bad actors have spread hateful rhetoric and misinformation nationwide in an attempt to vilify one of our community's most vulnerable groups. There have been attacks on the transgendered and gender non-binary community for the duration of Trump's campaign for election, and there's every reason to believe that he will leverage the fear-mongering and hate speech spread during his campaign to strip the trans community of various rights to their life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. As such, in order to ensure the strength of the Wilkes-Barre community, which is derived from its unity, we must ensure that the rights of the trans community are preserved within the bounds of Wilkes-Barre. I have with me a resolution for a trans sanctuary bill passed into state college law. Should we pass a similar bill into Wilkes-Barre law, it will help to protect both the trans students attending the college campuses in the heart of downtown Wilkes-Barre and the many trans workers that give their time to keep Wilkes-Barre business running, to keep Wilkes-Barre's economy afloat. The statutes therein prevent laws from denying a trans individual health care, as a trans individual's health care is one of the main attacks legislators have used to persecute the trans community at large. A type 1 diabetic should not be denied insulin for managing their diabetes, same as a trans individual suffering from gender dysphoria should not be denied medicine for managing their gender dysphoria, which is the purpose of prescribing HRT, or hormone replacement therapy, to transgender and gender non-binary individuals. Before I started HRT, gender dysphoria ravaged my mental health. I was a prisoner in my own body, as if I was going through life with a rubber mask permanently glued to my face. People never addressed me, never acknowledged me, never loved me. They only ever knew the mask. It filled me with a depression that impacted my education, my relationships, and my willingness to live. I found myself unable to keep up in my studies. I found myself unable to maintain my romantic and platonic relationships, and I found myself struggling with suicidal ideation. After I started HRT, I began feeling more comfortable in my own skin. I was no longer a prisoner in my own body, which is a feeling that no individual should suffer. As with any healthcare treatment, HRT, which has proven to be evidence-based, medically necessary, and life-saving by the American Medical Association, the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Endocrine Society, the American Psychiatric Association, and the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, amongst other institutions, should be a right to those who need it. As we head towards an unknown future, it is imperative that we, as a municipality, support each other, and that support starts by ensuring that every member of our community, even its most vulnerable members, is safe from persecutory law. It is division that brings a community low, and it is unity, mutual support, that allows a community to thrive in times of peace and weather times of strife. City Council, please consider the safety and well-being of Wilkes-Barre as a whole as you consider protection of Wilkes-Barre's most vulnerable citizens. For with this bill, we can strive for a more unified Wilkes-Barre, a stronger Wilkes-Barre, and a better Wilkes-Barre. Now, in addition to that little speech, I do have a couple addendums. Firstly, there is precedent through Trump's, the after effects of Trump's previous tenure as president. The Supreme Court justices appointed by the Trump administration have overturned Roe v. Wade, and you can see nationwide that several women were denied life-saving health care because they just so happened to be pregnant at the time, and the health care could have impacted the viability of the fetus. This led to often death. So there is precedent for a law being passed that could compromise the health care of the citizens of the United States of America, let alone the citizens of Wilkes-Barre. Secondly, this was not only an opportunity to introduce the idea of such a bill to the City Council, but also a petition for a sponsor, as I understand, in order to pass a law like this into City Council, into city law, I do require a sponsorship from a City Council member.
Okay. Questions? Comments?
Do you have a copy of the bill that you?
I have a copy of the version, I have a copy of the version passed into law by City College of Center County, Pennsylvania.
State College.
Yeah. With any luck, it should be easy enough to translate it to verbiage that reflects Wilkes-Barre, Luzerne County instead of State College, Center County.
Okay. Yeah, as long as we could have a copy.
We should look at the existing LGBT protections that we already have with the human, see if they jive, because we already have such a thing, so, but we'll make sure when we get a copy of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anthony Era?
Hello, Anthony Farah, Wilkes-Barre. I'm here to support my friend Madeline. Again, this resolution has been passed in the Borough State College, as well as, I believe, in Lancaster. I wasn't born in Wilkes-Barre, but I've come to move here and found Wilkes-Barre as my sanctuary or a safe place that I can live and work and live a good life. And if my friends and family don't feel the same way, then there's an issue and we need to resolve it here in Wilkes-Barre. Many people have come to Wilkes-Barre as a trans sanctuary and found safety in our community and found love and friendship. So we just need to codify that because it already exists. Thank you. Have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Same to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thomas Niznik?
Hi.
Good evening. My name's Thomas Niznik. I'm from the north end of Wilkes-Barre. And right now today, I know the wall fell about a month ago. I talked to Ms. McClay there and sent her a few emails and pictures. And my question, I should say the main focus here is the safety on Franklin Street. Coming down the hill, as you can see there, a car could come over, hit the guide rail and come right in the yard. There was a garbage truck back in the 60s that came over the wall, went into the garage, and also the water problem there. So that's more or less, I know it's hard to fix something like this in the winter. And Mr. Mayor, this is the one that Marconi and you came up and looked at about 4 years ago, when it was just tipping, but it started moving and it's down now. But yeah, I wish, I haven't got any response from anybody from the
Down past the hospital.
Public Works or anything.
No, it's Franklin's.
So is that all you have? Because I haven't, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys, so I, as well, he reached out to me as soon as, you actually reached out to me a few months ago.
Sure.
About the stability of the wall. I sent it over, somebody went out and looked at it, said it was stable. It clearly is not stable. So do we have a plan as to what we're doing for this?
Yeah, sir, I'm the mayor. And we were up there twice already.
Okay.
Okay, but we brought up an engineer, a structural engineer with us up there the second time we were up there. And we have some plans to at least make it safer until we can do some work on the wall.
Sure.
Okay. Now, I know your property, I think, bridges that. Is that correct?
I believe so, yeah. Well, yeah, it does.
Okay, one of the questions I have for you is, Lisa, go ahead. It's tough to get at, as you can see from the back end. If we have to go through or utilize your property, I'm hoping you wouldn't have a problem with us doing that. And if we had to, do anything as far as your landscaping, stuff like that, we'd definitely fix it.
Right.
Sure, it was done. But the main concern is we're looking at getting the report back from this engineer ASAP.
Okay.
So we can at least shore it up and do something to make it safe.
Right.
That's the number one priority. The funds that are going to be necessary, that's my job to come up with that, okay?
Sure.
And we're going to work on that. So twice, our reps have been up there. City administrator was up with also his name is George Albert. He's a structural engineer. And we're waiting for his report. When we get that report, we're going to see, okay, what can we do? First of all, to make it safe. That's the number one thing.
Well, the upper side of the hill, because even the water comes down there, is horrific in a rainstorm. It's, that hill's like...
Is it okay if I call you Tom?
Pardon?
Is it okay if I call you?
That's fine, sure.
Tom, this is one of our major number one priorities. Okay. And like I said, we're going to work with the structural engineer. First of all, to make it safe, the roadway you talked about.
Right.
Okay. And then look at a long-term fix for this.
Okay.
So we're looking at different avenues, waiting to get a finished report.
Okay.
It's going to be happening, sir. It'll be happening as soon as I can do it.
Okay, sure.
But it's not going to be left that way by any means.
Oh, no, that's
First
fine.
thing is, we're going to make sure that my concern also is the roadway.
Right. Well, you can see in that picture, there's a car up there.
Yeah.
There's two this morning. They're right there. They can come out of their car and walk and fall in my yard.
Yes, sir.
Okay, plus the rain we just had 2 days ago, a lot more of that bank came down in the yard.
What we'll do is, I make a promise to you, Tom, we will get you involved. We'll make sure
Okay,
you're
sure.
on board what we're going to do. You'll be the number one person to be notified.
Beautiful,
You
beautiful.
and Councilwoman, so that you know what's going to happen, okay?
Sure.
But we're going to take care of it. We're going to do the best we can to make it as safe as possible. And you'll be informed of what's
Okay.
going to happen.
And I did tell, I don't know if I told her, but the fire department came and when they gave me a phone number and everything, I do keep my gate locked because I do get a dog. I'm dog watching for a friend of mine's off and on. But that walkway / driveway between the garage and the house, there's a 100-year-old sewer main in there. Comes from the back of the house to the front. That's the only thing I'm worried about.
Okay.
So I don't know if the structure, I didn't even know where it's at. I'm only there 40-some years.
But Tom, what we'll do is if we have to,
Sure,
first
sure.
look at the report, if it's necessary to go into your property area,
Well, if you want to come down off the hill and take
Anything
the
that-
trees, take everything, you know?
anything that has, we will definitely
Sure.
make sure that it's brought back. We had that situation during, at Laurel Run Creek, okay?
Okay.
Where the creek wall actually fell in.
Sure.
We had to go up there, we had to go through their lady's property. What we
Mm-hmm.
did was we went in there, we made all the repairs, but we did tear up her property somewhat.
That's fine.
We totally landscaped that property.
Make it nice and level for me. Instead of on a hill.
We did make sure that that property was actually back better than it
Yeah.
was before we got in there. So she was very satisfied with the way that we did the landscaping.
Okay,
So-
sure.
But the main thing is getting that wall secure for you.
That's fine. It's Franklin Hill, the water and somebody falling, or a car coming in, because now the guide rail's compromised there, obviously, you know?
Can we possibly look at locking and putting no parking while that section is down? Because I mean, at night, I can see
Yeah.
what he's saying, it is dark, so you may not see that it's as structurally sound.
Yeah, we were talking about
so-
possibly putting a Jersey barrier up there.
Okay.
You know, which is a concrete barrier.
Right. As long as it's on the grassy area. If you put it on the street, the water coming down is a river. I mean, I can show you
It'll
videos.
divert it.
It comes down, it goes across Chestnut, and it takes up half of Chestnut.
Sure, I'll reach out to the engineer tomorrow.
Okay, sure.
And I'll probably be on the phone with you tomorrow, and Councilwoman McClay will make sure that, well, all of council will make sure
Sure,
all of
sure.
council's aware of what's going on there.
That's beautiful, beautiful. I didn't hear nothing in a month, so it's like, I gotta
No,
get
but
down
we
there.
have been up there.
Yeah, okay. That's
And
fine.
We haven't reached out to you, but
Yeah.
we've been in the back of the property there, and like I said, I'm not an engineer, but this gentleman, George Alberts, is very qualified.
Good.
Much like we did the wall up on Hazel Street.
I'm
We
a
did the-
retired mechanical engineer, so. Maybe
Mechanical engineer?
Yeah, well, previous, hydraulics mostly.
Well, I hope you understand where we're at, sir.
Oh, definitely, definitely, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sam, Troy?
Yeah, there's several issues to touch on here. I hope I get an answer on at least one or two of them. I know this issue hasn't been brought up probably in a long time. But as someone who's more conscientious than the average person, I guess, of the Constitution and what it means to us today, I'm a little offended. I don't recall, I'm talking about the Christmas decorations. Look, I have no objection, and there is what, I mean, you guys all studied, I think, at some point in your academic lives, the separation between church and state. This does not have to be so lavish. I'm not saying I'm against all decorations, but the world is not all Christian, it's not all Jewish, it's not all Islam. It's, and any lawyer will tell you this, that it is a violation to endorse any religion. And does it have to be so lavish, Mr. Brown, with all those lights on those trees down there? That must cost us, I guess there's no sense of frugality in this city, but it must be costing the city a lot of money to have all those, every tree lit there on the square with lights. I have other points here to make. The most prominent in my mind, because of what something brought up in the last day or two, And I wondered if Tim has any comment on this. The fact that we have a gentleman on the zoning board who has been found out not to live in the city. So just to very briefly, his name is Nolan. And if that's the case, Tim, maybe you can answer for us in an objective way, if possible. Does that render all of the decisions that have been made since he has moved out of the city susceptible to any sort of litigation? I mean, for instance, if he did not live in the city, obviously he wouldn't be on the board. He shouldn't be on the board, right? But he has been on the board for a long time. Is this news to you, or I don't know? I guess you're not going to...
I'm going to wait till you're done, Sam.
So I think, because I spoke once when Myers High School was getting the zoning exemption down there, a variance, and I objected to that because of the fact that the school was an icon, a cultural icon, an educational icon, and it shouldn't be sold into private development to be made to convert it into what it's going to be converted in, and that's a separate issue. But you know, if this is the case, then something should have been done about this. If it does render the city susceptible to any sort of litigation to nullify any zoning decision that has been made since this gentleman moved out of town. I also want to, I still don't have a straight answer, Mayor Brown, on why this TAN is needed. If the city's going to have another $2 million here at its disposal, I've been pleading, as you know, for the average working person in this who works in the city at paying a 3% wage tax to try to get that mitigated or reduced. I've been trying to get the fees reduced with no luck, because you people, I guess, see it differently than I do. You know that the economic situation, the economic disparity between rich and poor grows constantly. And now, with a new administration in Washington, it's going to get worse, a lot worse, and we all know that. So I think you gentlemen and ladies, Mayor Brown, should feel ashamed of themselves in some way that you haven't even considered any sort of tax break. I'm talking about property tax break of any kind for the average citizen in Wilkes-Barre. I'm talking about reduction in fees. I'm talking about trying to come up with some solution. The city gets a revenue from the WVSA, the sanitary authority. I assume it doesn't pay for the runoff from its own buildings. I don't even know. I'm not even clear on that. Last time I was here, last time I spoke, there was no agenda. And I tried to give you guys an agenda, but it didn't come. You weren't here, I don't think. You might have had something, Jessica. But there one prominent problem in my mind, nobody could come up with anything, or nobody wanted to. How about urban blight? Is that a problem? I'll give you one quick example. My grandparents used to live on the last block of South River Street, going back to the 50s and 60s, and maybe early 70s. That was a gorgeous neighborhood, very upscale, with beautiful maintained homes. Now look at it. And I'm not saying like a lot of prejudiced people around here, that's because a certain group of people that cause this. Whatever the reason, it doesn't matter. It could be remedied by some money from ARP or whatever. It could have been remedied by something similar to Pittston, the Beautiful Blocks program. But this administration, this mayor, has refused to do that. I think it's shameful. But thanks for your consideration of anything I said.
Sure.
Related to the zoning issue that Sam brought up, first I would like to say that I'm not the solicitor for the zoning board. I'm the solicitor for the city. And second, I wasn't aware of any of this to just a few hours ago, but the mayor asked me to take a look at it. So here's what I can say in response to Sam. There is a provision in the zoning ordinance that says it shall be comprised of 5 residents from the city of Wilkes-Barre. The zoning ordinance was last amended several years ago. The administrative code, which was passed in 1976 and amended, several times since then, but not the part I'm going to talk about, says that all boards, commissions, and authorities shall be comprised of city residents or people employed in the city. Okay. So the zoning ordinance is one thing, and the administrative code says another thing. They're not necessarily a conflict, but they're slightly different. However, the zoning ordinance has a as a section which is called interpretation and conflict. And in that section of the ordinance, it says, "The regulations of this ordinance," meaning the zoning ordinance, "are not intended to interfere with or abrogate any or annul any other ordinance, rules, or regulations previously adopted or previously issued which are not in conflict with these provisions." So it's obvious that the provisions in the administrative code would precede the zoning ordinance. However, it is up for interpretation. So again, I would have to look into it more.
But you won't do unless they tell you to.
Well, again, I'm not the solicitor for the zoning board either. But the most important thing to take from this is, it appears from looking at past zoning votes, if you remove the person's vote in question, none of the outcomes would have changed, okay? So even if that person should not have been voting, which, may not be the case, it may be perfectly fine that a person employed in the city of Wilkes-Barre is on the zoning board because of our administrative code. But even if he wasn't allowed to vote, no action taken by the zoning ordinance in the time period we're talking about would have been changed one bit. So it's really nothing.
It's nothing?
Yeah.
Mayor, did you want to speak?
Yeah, and also, Sam, Mr. Nolan, I attended the board meeting last night, and at the end of the board meeting, Mr. Nolan said, I want to resign my position, which he has done, and also in the January council meeting, I'll be going before council, asking for authorization to add a member to the board replacing Mr. Nolan. So it's not an issue anymore. Secondly, Sam, I want to talk to you about two things. Now, those of you that are here tonight for the first time, this is an issue that has come up regularly from Mr. Troy about the council meetings about giving money back to the residents of Wilkes-Barre. Folks, I want to tell you something. In 6 years, I have not raised taxes.
You're not really wording it.
Sam, this is my time. Sam, this is my time, all right, Mr. Barrett?
Correct, sir.
Okay, I didn't interrupt you, and you know that. In 6 years, my budgets, I've not raised taxes in 6 years. Now, you're going to say, why don't I give money back to the people? We did that, and I mailed out 8,460 stimulus checks to low-income people during the COVID situation. We gave money back. Thirdly, without raising taxes over the last 6 years, we are providing to you and every other resident the best police department and best police service in the state, the best fire department, and the best DPW department. The services that they give you and every other resident or visitor to the city of Wilkes-Barre are not matched within the state of Pennsylvania, and I'm very proud of them. And Sam, that's what we pay for out of the taxes that we all pay, okay, is for the services that are provided. Thirdly, if you're not happy about the way Public Square is lit up, okay, that's my decision. And my decision is to make sure that we create a festive place for people to come to, Public Square. The things that are on Public Square, the illuminated reindeer and other things, were actually purchased by leaders of the Latino community last year. And they got together and they donated thousands of dollars and went out and bought those wonderful, beautiful Christmas or holiday, if you don't like Christmas, holiday decorations. So the holiday decorations that are lit up there, yes, they're using electricity, and that was my decision to turn them on, and it'll be my decision when we remove them. So if you don't like the fact that we're celebrating the holidays by turning the lights on, then you're one person that doesn't like it, but I get people telling me all the time, Mayor, I drove through Public Square, it's beautiful. I had a gentleman here last week from Los Angeles that came downtown because he heard how beautiful the decorations were on Public Square. So if that's something you don't agree with, okay, that's fine. I respect you and I respect your opinion, but understand, I'm taking the responsibility for turning those lights on, and I'll take the responsibility for turning them off. But Sam, every time you come here, you ask me about refunding money back to people, and I did do that. 8,460 checks were sent out to people. And also, I keep telling you, once again, the wonderful service you get from the police, the fire, the DPW, and the City Hall employees. If you come here, these people work hard for you. That's my answer to you, Sam.
Thank you, Mayor.
Can I respond to that?
No, sorry. Anything from council? Okay, motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion.
Thank you.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Not the other one.